that's something that happened with me due to my addiction. I lost my house, had my own first house, so I lost that because I wasn't making payments because my money was going to drugs. So, it's a constant chase. It's a 24/7 job. You miss out with your family and you miss out on all the good shit. And that's why I mentioned how just looking at a field to me is beautiful, or just watching beach waves, listening to them crash, things like that. Enjoying the little things. I've been robbed 3 times out here, and it really beat me down to the point where it's that's all materialistic shit. You can get a new phone, you can get a new book bag. What's really important is your time and how you spend it, I think.
Portland's streets tell a story of contrast. Vibrant neighborhoods, lined with artisan cafes and independent boutiques, stand just blocks away from makeshift shelters and tents. In a city celebrated for its progressive values and community activism, the persistence of homelessness is a stark paradox. Behind the lush parks and bike-friendly boulevards lies a human crisis that resists easy solutions. Families, veterans, and individuals from all walks of life are caught in a daily struggle to find safety, dignity, and a roof over their heads. This narrative invites viewers to look beyond the postcards and witness lives in flux, reminding us that every skyline casts a shadow. With this backdrop in mind, let's turn to the numbers that reveal the true scale of Portland's homeless population. Portland's latest January point-in-time count recorded 6,297 individuals experiencing homelessness in Multnomah County, marking a 13% increase over the previous year. Of those counted, 3,944 people, roughly 62.6%, were unsheltered, living in parks, on sidewalks, in vehicle interiors, or in makeshift encampments. Meanwhile, 1,821 people, 28.9%, sought refuge in emergency shelters, and 5,328.5% were in transitional housing units. Volunteers mapping the city streets found over 300 distinct tent clusters this year, a 40% rise from 2022. These encampments stretch from Old Town and the Transit Mall to East Portland's Rockwood and Lentz neighborhoods. This increasing visibility has sparked intense debate at City Hall, where in 2023 alone, the council reviewed at least 27 camping ban proposals. However, enforcement is frequently postponed until adequate shelter capacity is secured. The demographic profile of Portland's homeless community highlights deep systemic disparities. Black, Indigenous, and other people of color now make up 35% of the homeless population, even though they represent just 23% of county residents. Among this group, Black individuals saw a 32% increase in homelessness between 2022 and 2023, while Native Hawaiian and Pacific Islander numbers doubled over the same period. Families represent 18% of the unhoused population, including 166 unaccompanied children. Across the Tri-County region, 1,290 young people under 25 experience homelessness, with children under 18 making up 80% of unsheltered youth. Women account for 43% of the unsheltered population, many of whom are fleeing domestic violence or struggling with economic hardship. Meanwhile, 42% are aged 45 or older, facing the dual challenges of fixed incomes and rising living costs. These intersecting vulnerabilities reveal that homelessness in Portland is not a singular story, but a complex tapestry of experiences. Having understood the scale and the faces behind these numbers, we now turn to the underlying forces that drive individuals and families onto the streets. Portland's housing market has tightened dramatically in recent years, with rental rates climbing faster than wages. New developments cater to luxury buyers and tech professionals, leaving a shrinking supply of affordable apartments. Those earning minimum wage or relying on Social Security simply can't compete. A one-bedroom unit that cost $900 a decade ago now easily rents for $1,500 or more, forcing cost-burdened households to spend the majority of their income on rent. When a medical emergency or job loss strikes, eviction, or worse, becomes an unavoidable reality. In this exploration, the link between housing scarcity and homelessness becomes impossible to ignore. Economic inequality deepens the divide. As Portland businesses thrive, many workers find themselves trapped in low-wage jobs with no benefits or job security. Healthcare costs, transportation expenses, and childcare outlays only add to the instability. In 2022 alone, more than 6,000 eviction filings swept through Multnomah County courts, often resolved without legal representation for tenants. The threat of displacement is a constant fear for those living paycheck to paycheck, teetering on the edge of solvency. What life events push someone from a stable home into life on the streets? Sudden crises, whether it's a hospital stay without adequate insurance, a relationship breakdown, or the end of rental assistance, can dismantle the most carefully planned lives. Once homelessness begins, the barriers to re-entry compound. Credit scores plummet, discrimination in housing applications rises, and the trauma of instability takes a psychological toll. Having laid bare these root causes, the focus now shifts to the social welfare programs designed to cushion the blow and offer a pathway back to stability. Portland's social welfare framework combines emergency shelter, transitional housing, rental assistance, and wraparound services to address homelessness at every stage. During the coldest winter months and hottest summer days, Code Purple and Code Red initiatives convert community centers, school gyms, and church basements into low-barrier shelter sites, providing more than 10,000 overnight stays each year. Beyond these seasonal efforts, the city supports over 80 year-round emergency shelters and nearly 500 transitional apartments, where residents receive intensive case management to link them to mental health counseling, substance use treatment, job training, and childcare assistance. Preventive rental assistance further strengthens this system. The Oregon Rehousing Initiative offers up to 24 months of rent subsidies, combined with career counselors and behavioral health specialists. In the past year alone, more than 4,000 households have been able to maintain stable housing through this program. Complementary emergency rent relief grants have helped prevent over 8,000 evictions, allowing families, seniors on fixed incomes, and survivors of domestic violence to stay in their homes when unexpected hardships arise. A key component to preventing service gaps is Multnomah County's coordinated entry network. This single intake point centralizes referrals across providers, ensuring high-priority populations such as unaccompanied youth, veterans, and individuals with disabling conditions move to the top of the wait list. Street outreach teams, staffed with housing navigators and peer mentors, canvass encampments daily, building trust and guiding clients through eligibility assessments. At the same time, a real-time data dashboard tracks bed availability, client progress, and emerging hotspots, enabling agencies to swiftly reallocate resources and measure program impact. Nonprofit partners and philanthropic foundations extend the safety net by operating mobile legal clinics that mediate landlord-tenant disputes, hosting financial coaching workshops to build emergency savings, and running food security programs that deliver groceries directly to shelters and encampments. Collaborative employment initiatives with local businesses create pathways to living wage work, while specialized drop-in centers for families offer on-site childcare and educational support for children experiencing instability. These collective efforts underscore a fundamental principle. Preventing and ending homelessness requires more than just bricks and mortar. It demands a holistic, person-centered approach. With this comprehensive social welfare infrastructure in place, the next section will explore how government strategies build on these programs to provide lasting, systemic solutions. At the heart of Portland's policy response is the Blueprint to End Unsheltered Homelessness, a multi-million-dollar initiative aimed at expanding shelter capacity and strengthening safety nets. City leaders have committed significant funds to create 1,500 new overnight beds across community facilities, along with dedicated daytime centers that provide meals, showers, and social services. Crucially, camping bans are only enforced when adequate shelter space is available, reflecting a shift toward compassion over criminalization. The state government continues to support the Oregon Rehousing Initiative through mid-2025, ensuring that households at risk of displacement can maintain their tenancy. Tax incentives encourage landlords to offer affordable units, while legal reforms strengthen tenant rights and cap unjust evictions. Investments in supportive housing, permanent units, paired with on-site services, have transformed former motels into long-term homes for hundreds of residents. Meanwhile, Metro's supportive housing services levy channels local tax revenue into mental health care and substance use treatment, acknowledging that safe housing and health are inseparable. Emergency funding from federal sources complements these efforts, accelerating the conversion of vacant buildings into living spaces. As a result, over 200 hotel rooms purchased with American Rescue Plan dollars have been repurposed into permanent supportive housing. With these interventions in place, we can later reflect on how Portland's efforts compare with other cities in Oregon. Despite the array of programs and policy advances, significant hurdles continue to hinder Portland's efforts to stem the tide of homelessness. First and foremost, the sheer scale of unsheltered need still far exceeds the available shelter beds. On any given night, hundreds of people are turned away from emergency facilities simply because they are at capacity. This shortage is compounded by zoning restrictions and neighborhood resistance, which limit where shelters can operate, leaving certain areas chronically underserved. The fragmentation among service providers exacerbates the issue. While dozens of nonprofits, faith-based groups, and government agencies offer housing assistance, mental health counseling, addiction treatment, and employment coaching, coordination remains inconsistent. Clients often find themselves navigating multiple intake processes, repeating their stories to different case managers, and losing momentum before they secure stable housing. While a centralized data system has helped streamline some efforts, gaps in reporting and privacy concerns mean that some high-need individuals still slip through the cracks. Financial instability poses another major concern. Much of Portland's homeless response relies on annual budgets that are subject to political shifts and economic downturns. When federal or state grants are delayed or reduced, programs are forced to cut services or freeze new enrollments, undoing hard-won progress. Short-term emergency funding, though critical in moments of crisis, does not provide the sustained support necessary for individuals to rebuild their lives. Another challenge lies in addressing the evolving demographics of homelessness. Families with children, youth aging out of foster care, and older adults on fixed incomes face distinct barriers. Daytime drop-in centers serving single adults often lack the necessary facilities for parents with young children, and recovery programs designed for long-term residents may not meet the needs of someone just released from detention or psychiatric hospitalization. Specialized housing models exist, but they remain too few to make a broad impact. Stigma and community resistance continue to hinder progress. Not in my backyard sentiment can delay or derail plans for new shelters or affordable housing developments. And media coverage of encampment cleanups often overlooks the human stories behind the tents. This climate of misunderstanding fuels policies that prioritize the removal of visible homelessness over long-term solutions, perpetuating a cycle of displacement without resolution. Finally, limitations in data collection and analysis hamper strategic planning. While the coordinated entry system tracks individuals by name and need, it does not capture the full scope of hidden homelessness. People couch surfing, living in cars, or sleeping in overcrowded apartments. Without a complete picture, city leaders must make critical resource allocation decisions based on partial information, risking misdirected investments and unmet needs. Having outlined these obstacles, we now turn to targeted recommendations and additional solutions designed to bridge the gaps in Portland's approach. To bridge the remaining gaps, Portland can pursue a cohesive set of improvements rooted in collaboration and data-driven innovation. In this exploration of urban policy, the city should start by dramatically expanding its affordable housing supply. Inclusionary zoning requirements for new developments and streamlined permitting for accessory dwelling units, ADUs would empower both large developers and individual homeowners to add deeply affordable homes for seniors, families, and people exiting homelessness. Next, scaling up mobile outreach teams is crucial. By equipping vehicles with healthcare professionals, behavioral health counselors, housing navigators, and job readiness coaches, services can meet people where they live, in tents, cars, or abandoned buildings. This would help prevent medical crises that often lead to housing loss, while also jump-starting pathways back to work. Enhancing data integration and predictive analytics gives Portland a sharper edge in targeting its limited resources more efficiently. Early warning systems triggered by rent arrears, utility shutoffs, or emergency room visits would allow outreach teams to intervene before a household falls into homelessness. Public dashboards could track progress on reducing unsheltered counts and shortening the duration of homelessness episodes, ensuring accountability among agencies and funders. Deepening public-private partnerships is another key solution. Local businesses could contribute to rent subsidy pools and offer hiring pipelines, while tech companies could convert unused office space into transitional housing. Philanthropic organizations underwriting support services would help buffer programs against political shifts and budget cuts, fostering community ownership of the solutions. A comprehensive public education campaign would round out these efforts. Through short, story-driven videos, neighborhood forums, Portland can humanize homelessness, spotlight success stories, and build empathy that counters stigma and not in my backyard NIMBY resistance. Finally, creating dedicated pathways for families, youth, and older adults ensures no one is left behind. Family shelters with on-site childcare, youth transitional homes linked to educational support, and senior rental assistance covering move-in costs would address the unique needs of each group. Customized case plans, shaped by advisors with lived experience, would guide individuals toward lasting stability and dignity. With these comprehensive recommendations in place, we can now compare Portland's approach with other cities across Oregon. Portland's homelessness efforts are part of a statewide response, with each city adapting solutions to its size and demographics. Eugene, with a population of just over 370,000, counted 820 people experiencing homelessness in 2023, nearly 60% unsheltered. The Shelter Hub model centralizes 150 beds, meals, and case management, reducing client handoffs by 75% and cutting service intake time from 3 weeks to 10 days. Operating on half the budget per capita of Portland, Eugene's efficient approach shows that consolidation can yield savings without compromising care. In Salem, Oregon's capital, 610 people were unhoused in the latest count. In response to Portland's housing pressures, Salem launched a rapid rehousing pilot, offering 3 to 6 months of rental support for up to 200 families annually. With a 68% tenancy retention rate, it outperforms the statewide average of 54%. Salem's budget of $12 million per year, nearly 1/3 of Portland's per resident investment, also leverages private donations to cover 20% of housing costs, demonstrating the power of cost-effective pilots. In Bend, seasonal tourism leads to fluctuating shelter demand, with mobile shelters deployed during winter and summer. Utilizing 85% of shelter capacity annually, Bend partners with local outdoor companies to offer job placements and equipment. Bend's seasonal model showcases how industry collaboration can address housing gaps in high-variance communities. Gresham, with 115,000 residents, benefits from the Metro Supportive Housing Services Levy, raising $260 million since 2018. Allocating 15% to permanent supportive housing and outreach teams, Gresham works with Portland to reduce duplication of intake processes by 40% and expand unsheltered shelter capacity by 120 beds. Common themes across these cities include the importance of zoning reform, centralized data systems, and public-private partnerships for funding. Each city's approach is shaped by its unique context, from Eugene's consolidated model to Bend's seasonal outreach. Portland can build on these lessons by leveraging its larger budget and advocacy network, adopting targeted pilots and industry alignments from other cities. With these insights, we turn to Portland's path forward. Conclusion. In tracing Portland's journey through the landscape of homelessness, we see a city shaped as much by its aspirations as by its challenges. From the visible camps along downtown sidewalks to the hidden households teetering on the brink of eviction, the crisis marks every corner of this urban tapestry. Despite an ambitious blueprint to end unsheltered homelessness, robust rental assistance programs, and growing collaborations, gaps in shelter capacity, service coordination, and sustainable funding remain. Innovative recommendations, ranging from inclusionary zoning and mobile outreach to predictive data analytics and public education campaigns, offer a roadmap for closing these gaps. When compared to licensed pilots in cities like Eugene, Salem, Bend, and Gresham, Portland's larger scale provides both an advantage and a challenge in proving its commitment to systemic change. True progress will require not just policy adjustments, but enduring political will, community solidarity, and the courage to confront stigma. Looking ahead, success will not just be measured by reducing the number of people counted on point-in-time counts, but by restoring the dignity of every person who calls this city home. By weaving together the lessons from peer cities, insights from lived experience advisors, and the energy of public-private partnerships, Portland can turn its promise into reality, ensuring that no one remains unseen in its streets.